Everybody, welcome back to Tim and Joe's Awesome Podcast, the only podcast coming to you every other week that is awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good ones, great ones. This one's awesome.
A perfect 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
Was there a review?
There was a review.
Who was it?
I don't know.
What'd they say?
I don't know. I don't
even
know
what they said.
I don't know.
They just gave it
but
5
it was 5 stars. I imagine it was incredible what they said about us. But I honestly didn't read it, and I promise I didn't write it. So somebody reviewed us. Thank you from the very bottom of my heart.
You know who you are.
And if you write us a 5-star review, maybe we should read it on the show, I think.
Yeah.
There's a call out to anybody who's been tempted before but hasn't been able to pull the trigger. Go ahead and send us that 5-star review. We'll give you a shout out on the show. And Tim, are we still looking for emails?
I haven't checked in a long time. So if
Mainly because we haven't gotten any.
I haven't had a single. Usually it's
prove us wrong.
But yeah, prove us wrong.
We'll read your email.
Yeah.
We would love to get an email from anybody, really. Anybody besides me and Tim.
Yeah, send an email. Tim and Joe's Awesome Podcast at gmail.com. Easy enough to remember.
Yeah.
I also have an update. As you remember in episode 3 and 4, we were sponsored by a wonderful new product out for golfers.
Our first sponsor.
Well, our first unofficial sponsor, because they didn't really sponsor in any way, but we certainly gave them shout-outs. So Kevin, who's a neighborhood cat,
Okay.
I'll give him a shout-out now again. We'll say that he's unofficially sponsoring episode 18.
Kevin, you can make that official, by the way. I'd hate to have to give a disclaimer that it's unofficial every time. I mean, if you just kind of sponsor the episode.
Maybe he'll give us some product when you find out the product. If you remember episode 3 and 4, I think it was 3 and 4, it's quite a product. So it's for improving your golf game.
That's right.
Essentially, your grip on your golf club gets a little greasy with your hands, a little sweaty.
Okay.
And as a result, as you can imagine, when that club is coming in, any kind of twist or turn is going to affect your golf game.
Yeah, it would.
And so he has a cleaning cloth, disposable wipes, that he has a special recipe that will clean your grips and give you that tight grip. It's cheaper than replacing your grips. A lot of avid golfers will actually replace their grips every year.
Sounds like a waste.
It is a waste. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. However, these wipes are amazing.
What are they called?
Shaft wipes.
There it is.
Clean your shaft and hit your balls harder is their tagline. They are live if you go to shaftwipes.com.
Okay.
You can order your own bunch of shaft wipes. I've ordered them. I don't. So hopefully my sister-in-law is not listening. Certainly, hopefully her boyfriend is not listening because he is an avid golfer. And so this Christmas, he will be getting a pack of his very own shaft wipes so that he can hit his balls harder.
Wow. That's worthy of an official sponsorship. I mean, what a read. What a read. Well done, Tim. You have increased sales even if it wasn't from the consumers listening, but from yourself.
And I'll say the reality is that maybe you're a golfer out there, one of our 19 listeners, maybe you're a golfer out there and you don't clean your grips at all. This would be a great product. You'll be amazed. For less than $1 a course, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Maybe you do clean, but it's a lot of work, or maybe you are buying your own grips. All those scenarios, this is the product for you.
Yep. Well, that's a great segue into the fact that the Mitchell meter sounds like it's up to 19.
I think we're up to 19.
Unbelievable.
I can't. They don't let you see the subscribers on Apple and Spotify because I did look. And then Buzzsprout is who we use for hosting, and they don't keep track of that. But I'll say if 19 downloads have happened, I think that's something.
That's something for sure. So I think we're getting closer and closer to that goal of 50.
Yeah, let's say that there's 10 YouTubers and there's 19 podcasters.
Yeah.
That's 29.
Wow.
We're just 21. We are over the halfway mark on the Mitchell meter, which if you'll recall, if we get 50 subscribers /listeners / we're just making up the numbers here, do something, and we'll count you in. Joe's going to get tell us what we get at 50.
At 50 subscribers, I will get a tattoo of my dentist's name before my next dental exam.
Where's this tattoo going to be?
On the inside of my lip, somewhere where only Dr. Mitchell can enjoy it.
I love that. Your mom, I'll give your shout out to your mom, though. She has commented on our YouTube page.
No, she hasn't.
She has?
My mother.
Yeah.
What?
She said, "Don't do it, Joe," on the YouTube.
Oh my gosh. Hey, it didn't work in high school. It's not going to work now. We are laser focused. Laser focused on this goal.
Leave his lip alone. Gosh, yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Shout out to my mom. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we have.
Oh, I should ask, your lips. Did you get them from your mom? Did you get them from your dad?
Wow. Great question. I've thought about this a lot. And I'd say I got the lips, the volume, from my mom.
Ooh, lush lips.
But the perpetual zest to get them inked is from my father.
Does your dad have a lip tattoo?
He wants them.
See, it's
He
the
wants
want
them.
to.
I could tell he wants them.
To.
Yeah.
Man, well, I love that.
Let's talk about what we're talking about. We're talking about those times where you fall on your face, you got egg on your face, whatever it is, you're eating a big old slice of humble pie. You don't measure up, and it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a phrase that you are aware of, but Katie says this phrase all the time, is they need a slice of humble pie. Have you heard this? She's a little more Southern than I am.
I haven't used it. I haven't heard it used quite like that, but I have heard more like, I have heard humble pie. You know?
You've heard humble pie. I don't know. I don't think I've heard it anywhere besides Katie. Again, she has a lot of the Southern colloquials more than I do. But you're from Texas, so if you haven't heard it.
Well, in Texas is...
They got their own language.
Yeah,
really.
It's not quite Southwest, and it's not quite South. It's like Texas. I mean, our tea is unsweet, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
We have unsweet tea, so we're not the South, but we're not quite Southwest. We're somewhere...
Okay. Well, we're talking slices of humble pie along with a side of unsweetened drink of shame. You know?
Drink that shame. Drink it. Well, the wild thing is, as I've been reminiscing on this, is that like I feel like in that moment, like I am so alone in my humility.
Yeah. That spotlight.
Exactly. You feel like the spotlight's right on you and everybody's looking. But in reality, we all have those moments, and they're so common.
Unavoidable.
Unavoidable. So there is no loneliness to it other than the one you give it.
No. Yeah, you got to accept it gracefully. It's hard, though, because usually when it hurts the most, it has something to do with who you are, your sense of self, and that's when it's really uncomfortable to talk about. Anybody can be embarrassed and let it roll off them. You know, I can trip on the street. It doesn't bother me, right?
Yeah.
But if it takes a hit at my pride, is when it is hard to talk about, and it is hard to know where to go from there. I'll give you an example from this week. I think this is a good example.
This week even.
Man, it happens a lot. I've had some practice. This week we're gearing up for budget season at work right now, and a lot of media inquiries and things like that. And so at work, they brought together some of the folks in the office who sometimes do public speaking, who sometimes do interviews with the media and things like that. And we did our media training. And this was just on Monday? Tuesday?
Okay.
This was yesterday.
Wow.
This is a Wednesday.
Fresh.
We're recording this. Yeah.
It's a fresh take.
This was, yeah. And they brought in two journalists, former journalists, who interviewed us without practicing, on the street, with a camera, with a journalist, asking tough questions. And then, unbeknownst to me, they took that recording and they played it amongst your peers to critique in front of you. It's true.
Wow.
And I've done several interviews with The Office. I usually prepare, and that's my secret sauce.
I've seen you on WLKY.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I prepare for those, and I've got my routine. And I've never really done one as cold as this. And with these types of questions, right? WKY, they got some friendly folks. They let you know what their story's about usually. It helps you out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, man, this was a 10-minute interview, which that's a long time to talk. And
they're trying to wear you down.
They wore me down. They even did the trick where they thanked me for the interview. They shook my hand, and we cut the camera. They're breaking it down, but they didn't cut the camera.
Ooh.
They left the camera on. They started breaking down the case. And, right? Yeah, it's rough. And he started asking me questions, just kind of, okay, now we're buddying up. Okay, yeah, this water cooler now. Yeah, tell me what's really going on. And man, I'll tell you what.
No, you fell for it.
I felt, well, I kept it pretty diplomatic in that period. I had a hunch that the journalist face was still on a little bit. But in a 10-minute interview, man, it's hard to be on here for a few minutes without saying something stupid. Yeah. Let alone when they're asking questions that are really difficult. And there were a few where when they played it back in front of my peers, everyone just kind of looked at me like,
uh-oh.
Whew. Yeah.
You want to give us an example? What was the question? What was the answer?
So I'll say one is I mentioned maybe on the last episode, we've had like a 30 to 35% reduction in fatal and non-fatal shootings this year. And terrible weekends, though. 5 homicides this past weekend.
Yeah.
Really rough. They asked a lot of questions about that, and I handled most of them pretty well. But when they asked me that question, is there anything else you'd like to share? And I went in on, just again, this work is so important. We need everybody. We're going to have, and this is what I said, is we're going to have speed bumps along the way, but we're going to do this in a sustainable way. We're going to reduce violence in a way that we can sustain.
That sounds great.
I thought so, but I didn't really think about what I said, and all they honed in on was, oh, this is a speed bump? No, not really. I mean, so 5 people dead, is that just a speed bump for you?
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. I mean, they had me. They had me, and I'm just trying to clean up. I'm on mop-up duty, and man. I'm just spreading that muck everywhere. Yeah. It's getting worse and worse. So, I mean, it pays to take a beat, really. Yeah. I mean, one thing I've always said, even going into that, what do you need to work on? And I know I need to work on my speed of talking. I talk too fast when I get excited. And then usually I just need to say one sentence less.
Well,
and be okay with that.
Hey, I think that's a life lesson right there. Just say one sentence less.
Yeah, that's been a mantra of mine for a while, and it doesn't always help. I need to remind myself of that quite a bit. So this is a good reminder for me. But boy, and I pride myself on a little bit on public speaking, but it's not naturally a gift. It's something that I practice and I study for. And so in that moment, with my peers around me and just kind of literally just sitting in it as I'm watching and they're critiquing me, they're pausing, my hand gestures, everything is just kind of,
Wow, they even critique your hand gestures and everything?
Absolutely, yeah. So they told me I had the detainee posture, which is true. I do most interviews with my hands kind of behind my back. Most of them are torso up, so it doesn't really become a problem. But they said this is somebody who's reserved. This is not somebody who's trusted. This is, they really want you to talk with your hands.
Wow.
So they said never hands in the pockets, never hands in this is the fig leaf right here where you keep it in front of you. Yeah. Never hands in the pockets. And they said only 10% of people do what you do, but don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Man, well, I knew you were in the top 10%.
Oh, appreciate that. Bottom 10, you mean. So have you ever, not measured up and did it taste like pie?
Here's an interesting story. I was out in New York. I was chasing the film stuff. And back then, before we were all so overly connected, there was a group, a website that you would hang out with groups, right?
Okay.
So let's say you were really fascinated with some software program or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was called, I don't even remember what it's called. But you would get on, you would find these little sub-clicks, and the people that love that weird software that you love that's about violence reduction and programming and statistics, you would find out people in your city that are like so into that, and y'all could get together. You guys could talk about that stuff. So I was in New York, and I found a group on that was like indie film, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So we went and hung out. It was a bit of a bust because it just attracts a lot of people think that they're going to make awesome films, and they don't realize just how hard work that is. But I did find 2 people out of that were worthwhile, which is the whole point of it, right? Like even if you walk in a room full of 10 people and you walk away with 2 people that you're going to connect with later,
sure,
that's a win, you know? So I ended up with one guy that I only talked to one other time, blah, 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 who knows? But this other guy, Joe Mignon, turns out that he wrote some amazing films in the 80s.
Okay.
Vampire's Kiss, which was Nicolas Cage, is having a psychotic breakdown, and he thinks he's turning into a vampire.
Perfectly cast. Never seen it. Perfectly cast.
It is amazing. If you haven't seen Vampire's Kiss, totally worth it. Totally worth it. Nicolas Cage is going through a psychotic breakdown, and you don't know, he got with the girl, you don't know if she was a vampire and he really is turning into a vampire, but your hunch is that he's not turning into a vampire. He just thinks he's turning into a vampire. Anyways, he also did a cult favorite, which is After Hours, he wrote that, which was a Martin Scorsese film in the 80s.
Okay.
Before Scorsese was just like mobster movies. He got in a little bit of hot water because they found out that one of the monologues in there he had ripped off of a radio DJ. Back before the internet, you might hear something, you might put it in something, and ships in the night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like 30 seconds of your film, maybe 60 seconds of your film. And maybe you put it in there just for a vibe. Maybe, who knows? So he had been ostracized, but he was coming out of that, and we became good friends, and he had a short film that he wanted to make out in New Jersey at a motel. And gosh, I mean, it was hectic. So on a film, you should have had, on this film, you probably should have had, we had 6 actors, you probably should have had 12 crew members.
Okay.
We
how many?
had 3.
Oh boy.
And one had never done any film. She was a wonderful woman, a great vibe, and that's why he wanted her. She's got a great vibe.
Is that what they're going for?
So the vibe is important, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I found as you were mentioning,
I've heard so many stories about how hard it is to make it on the set, and this woman's your vibes only.
She just had a good vibe.
Oh boy.
So Joseph was from like the 70s and 80s, Jim Jarmusch and earlier New York. That was about the experience. It wasn't about the product, though maybe it was about the product. Anyway, so I didn't know what I was doing, but I told him I did.
Yep.
I was like, Joe, I want to be DP. I want to be director of photography for your film. Tim, would you be director? Yes, absolutely. I thought we were going to be shooting on my little GH3, which is just a little prosumer camera. And then like the day before, he's like, Tim, I talked to somebody. I'm getting a Red camera. Red's back then, I think it was a Red Dragon. It was like the industry standard, lots of options. I'd never touched one before. I had never even built like a matte box, which is like it's like the whole cage that goes on the camera. And he had all this stuff. Needless to say that for a week, I was busy acting like I knew what I was doing. And I had no idea. So we would wrap, and he's like, all right, well, next, first shot next week, or first shot tomorrow, we're going to do this or that or the other. And when everybody else went to bed, I was trying to piece the camera together. I was trying to figure it out. So I wasn't sleeping great. In fact, I had a nightmare one night that I killed myself. So I finally did go to bed, and I dreamt a horrible dream. And in my dream, I took a gun, put it in my mouth, and blew my brains out. That's kind of the level of this week.
Wow.
Anyway, so we wake up in the morning, everybody's up, and then how'd you sleep? We're making small talk.
Can I just ask, what was when you learned that the camera was not something you could operate, or had operated, but you were hoping maybe you could? Is that really? Did you tell him?
So then you're calling friends. You're like, hey, this is happening. Some of them are friendly, and they're like, oh, it's no problem. It all shoots in RAW. You can just sharpen it in post. Some of them are like, hit the eject button. You can't do this. But you can't. There's only 3 of us. There's nobody else that's going to. Yeah. And we've got 6 people. We've booked these hotel rooms. It's like, it's in, the die has been cast.
Yeah.
We are crossing the Rubicon. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's no looking back. And honestly, like I thought, man, you know what? I'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like at some point you got to say, hey, Joseph Mignon is asking me to be DP for his short film. I don't care what happens. Yep. You know what? I'm going to say yes. Yep. So then I go down. I tell everybody, gosh, the receptionist lady was so sweet. And she was chatting me out. How did you sleep? I was like, oh, it was horrible, Shirley. It was horrible. It was like I dreamt that I killed myself. You
were desperate to talk to somebody to get me out of the situation. Maybe if you are sharing that with the receptionist,
well, Shirley was, I don't know that Shirley was her name, but she sure looked like a Shirley. She was so sweet, and she was just this New Jersey mom vibe, you know?
Yeah.
She was like, oh my gosh. What room are you in? And I was like, 312 or whatever, 106. She's like, because a man on your floor about 2 months ago checked in, and they found him on the beach, because it was on the beach of New Jersey, and he had shot himself in the head and killed himself. It wasn't my room, but it certainly gave me a moment to be like, whoa, what is going on here? And then when I got home from it, we got the shots. I just want to tell everybody, we got the shots.
That is not where I thought this was going.
We got the shots. We went to the film. I didn't go, but the film went to the Madrid International Film Festival. It was nominated for Best Short.
Oh my goodness.
That's what's
up. You did it. End of story?
When I got home from the shoot, my wife was 3 months pregnant.
Okay. With?
Eben.
Okay.
And I was going to bed at 8 o'clock. She was sick, maybe she was 2 months. She was not feeling well, and I'm like, baby, I got to go to bed. I'm sick.
Yeah.
She's like, whatever. I had developed shingles. It was so stressful that I had developed shingles. And it was starting to break out on my arm right here. And I was like, I am like 100% sure that this is shingles.
Oh, no.
Now, shingles is contagious, and you definitely don't want to be around a pregnant woman with a highly contagious disease, which is basically chicken pox that turns into something else. So I went to the doctor because this was like the humble pie was that, yes, I said yes. Yes, the film turned into a thing. But like I couldn't take care of my family. And my wife's looking at me like, you're so stressed out. And I hadn't eaten, I hadn't slept for like a week. And then, but a funny story about that is, this is not humble pie, but this was very funny. I went to the doctor, they looked, they're like, yes, you have shingles, let me write the script. They write the script, go down to this pharmacy, get the medicine, go down to the pharmacy, hand over the script, and it was an African doctor, like a guy straight from Africa.
Okay.
And I know it's a big continent, let's just say sub-Saharan Africa. I don't know what country he was from, but like sub-Saharan Africa. And so I hand him the script, and he sees it, and then he hands it to his associate. He's like, fill this script. So the guy starts working on it. He's like, well, it's going to be about 20 minutes before I can get that ready for you. I'm like, oh, it's great. I'll just walk around and look for like, I don't know, lotions. I don't know. I mean, it's like, what are you going to get? Like, that's fine. I'm feeling horrible, by the way.
Sure.
Anyway, so next thing I know, I'm looking at, I don't know what I'm looking at, stuffed animals for my baby to be. And this pharmacist comes up next to me, and he's like, in my country, I'm kind of a big deal. And I'm just like,
cool, I've got shingles, help me.
Well, man, that's great. Because it is pretty classic that in your country, maybe you're like a doctor.
Yeah.
And then you come to America and you're a janitor because you didn't pass our med schools or whatever. So, and I want to give him the validation. I'm like, bro, I love that. I love that you're a big deal. What are you a big deal for? He's like, I found a medicine that's totally organic and it cures diseases. I was like, bro, the world needs that. I love that. And he's like, yeah.
Everyone's hype, man.
And he's like, and the drug that I've created, it cures genital warts. And I was like, bro, that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where this guy's going with this, but I'm just like, I'm not feeling great. I'm looking at stuff.
Yeah, like, this is an odd way to tell me I don't have shingles.
This guy's like, hey, I found a cure.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, totally organic? He's like, yeah, it's just all natural. I was like, that is a real win. That is a real
This is a game
victory.
changer, yeah.
I was like, man, the world needs that stuff. Now he's looking real weird. Like, he thought that would, like, inspire me to something,
yeah.
you know? He's like, yeah, so, like, if you know of somebody who has, you know, genital warts, I have a medicine that can help them. I was like, bro, I love what you're saying. Let me get your business card, because who knows who I'm going to meet. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, he's looking real weird. He gives me his business card, and I'm just like trying to validate him because he's from a different country. He came to America. Yeah. He's a pharmacist. I love that, but maybe he really was it was like, listen, I'm going to hang on to this. And if I find out that anybody has genital warts, bro.
And I know you mean that.
Bro, and
I know you mean.
I didn't mean it. Put it in my pocket. Script is done. I grabbed the prescription and walk out. Then I call my brother. My brother's in medicine, by the way.
Okay.
He's a surgeon. At that time, he was in med school. And I was like, bro, I'm back from the shoot. I got shingles. I just got the script filled, blah, blah. We just chit-chat. I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't believe the interaction I just had. It was so uncomfortable. And it turns out, he was laughing so hard once I said that. Turns out that the medicine for shingles is exactly the same medicine for genital warts.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're both viruses.
Okay.
And so this doctor had seen me hand over a script that he thought was for genital warts because that's a virus.
Yep.
Because you wouldn't think that a 29-year-old, a 30-year-old would be walking in with shingles. And man, I was laughing so hard. So anyways, but
he's like, you can be honest with me. You don't have to put up this front.
That's the look. He was giving me like, so if you know of anybody, bro, I'll make sure.
Yeah, this is for a friend. This is for a friend. Yeah.
I'll make sure they call you.
Right.
So that was pretty goofy. But definitely learned my lesson on that one, that just because it's a great opportunity, you will be humbled if you're not prepared to. For the heat.
Worked. It worked out.
It worked.
It worked. I mean, more or less. Got shingles out of the way as a young man. You know, way to go. The worst part, the shame that hits the most is right out of reach of your skill set. You know what I mean? It is on the perimeter. Yeah. It is where my expertise ends and has plateaued, and where I can grow begins, right? And that's when you get embarrassed, because you think that you measure up and you don't.
Yeah. At one point, we were trying to get this thing in focus, and we couldn't do it because it was so bright outside. I couldn't build a matte box. I didn't have ND filters. If you're in film, you understand. I was doing things bass-ackwards, and he's like, I don't understand what the problem is. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful camera. We have the actors here. We're all stopped down. What is going on? And me and, what is his? It's been so long.
Right.
I was just like, we were looking at each other like.
You got the shot.
Yeah.
You got the shot.
We did get the shot.
Yeah.
And I was feeling really embarrassed. And he was like, do you see a shot list? Do you even see a script? Like, he gave me the validation of like, there is no infrastructure here for success.
Yeah.
This is just a wild tiger ride.
Yeah.
Where you don't jump off.
Yeah.
Because if you jump off, you're going to get eaten. So just stay on the freaking tiger and stop worrying about the bumps.
You had the right guy to help you through that. That could have gone way worse. Knowing that humble pie is around the corner is like having a time machine, right? It's like it's like Tim of the future in your dreams was going forward and was just like, Tim, in the week up to this, if you don't get this together, here's what can happen.
Yeah.
here's what can happen. It could have been very embarrassing for you. But knowing that, and this is probably something that is innate in us, is like, this is how bad it could be. It will be so bad to fall on your face in this moment. So call your friends. Shingles be damned. Call everybody you know, and let's just get this done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I was definitely calling everybody, letting them know. But here's a story of real humble pie. This is fun. This is, because that one, listen, maybe that was a win. I don't know. Joseph is amazing. I called him about a month ago, checked in on him. He's doing good. But here's a great, this is the first one that came to mind, okay? So, when my wife and I had first gotten married, listen, I'm the baby of the family.
Okay.
Okay, I'm the baby.
Yeah.
I'm a little baby.
Well, you're a twin.
I am a twin, but even among the twin set, I'm the baby. So.
Oh well.
And once you're a baby, you're always the baby. You get
splitting hairs.
To you, maybe to my mother, however, it's very.
You're the
different.
baby.
I'm the baby.
Okay.
Christopher is the firstborn son.
Yeah, but you were almost the middle child there.
Well, you could think of it that way.
Okay.
And anyways, so the point is that I'm the baby.
Yeah.
I get married, and of course, my wife isn't good enough for my mom. And of course, my wife is a fiery redhead.
If she only knew.
What's that?
If your mom only knew.
She does know. She does know now. But let's just take you back circa 2012, right?
Okay.
So we got married. Mom and Steph aren't doing great. Stephanie said something she shouldn't have. Mom said something she shouldn't have. It's not great. One summer, we're over there. We still visit.
Yeah.
We still visit. It's still visiting, but very challenging.
Yeah.
And we're staying in my old room. You know what I'm saying? We're staying in my old room because we can't afford a hotel. So there's no escape.
Yep.
There's no like, let's go take a breath. Let's let mom take a breath, and then we come back. Anyway, so it's intense.
Sure.
It's intense. Summertime, Texas. My folks have a pool. Anyway, so my sister's there. My brother's there. Of course, my dad's there. And I don't think my nieces were there. So they're all, maybe my nieces were there because they're all hopping in the pool. You know what I'm saying? But I'm exhausted.
Right.
I've been playing this game of like trying to be the
Keep
glue.
the peace. Yeah.
Keep the peace. Be the grease. Keep things moving smooth. And it's just like all these little microaggressions on both sides. These little, anyways, misconnection. Somebody says something nice and the other person totally didn't get it, and then they thought it was a dig, and then you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
So everybody's hopping in the pool, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go take a shower.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna relax. I might even lie down. I might even have a nap. I was exhausted. And Stephanie's like, oh, you know what? I could lie down too. So she lies down. I go take a shower. Everybody's out in the pool. Anyways, listen. One of the great remedies to maybe a stressful in-law / your parents situation is like a beautiful matrimonial embrace. A little lovey, huggy bug, licky lip. My uncle calls it huggy bug, licky lip. Wasn't in the plans, but I took a shower, came out, and she couldn't sleep because it's so stressful.
Yeah.
We have just the passionate, angry, beautiful, marital embrace. You know what I'm saying?
Love it.
In the privacy of my childhood room.
Oh.
While everybody's in the pool. I love it. And there we are, literally like maybe 60 seconds post-coital. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So 90 seconds from when you began?
I love it. Not that night. Not that day. It was in the middle of the day. I had energy at that one.
There you go.
And we had a lot to work out.
All right.
Anyways, 60 seconds from the magic moment. We're laying there and naked and sweaty and hot and just, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
You're still in your 20s, right?
Just barely.
Man, loving your 20s. You know what I'm saying? Loving your 20s. Anyways, 60 seconds. And this is what I hear. Timmy, are you in there? Timmy. Then my family calls me Timmy. Timmy! Timmy, we're making a dinner order. Timmy!
Oh my
Timmy,
gosh.
wake up. We need a dinner. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
I'm sweaty. I'm beat
Yep.
red. And
Yeah.
like, you can't be like, so I just throw a towel on because I was supposed
You
to
were
be
in the shower.
I was in the
Yeah.
shower. I threw the towel on, and I throw open the door, and there's my father and my sister. Now, my dad, God bless his soul, just has no clue of what the situation is. He's an older man, and he probably...
It's been a long time since his 20s.
It's been a long time since his 20s. He's like, Tim, we're getting burgers. We need your order. And my sister, however, just goes, oh my gosh. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
she can see
no.
from the instant, she can see it. And I'm like, okay.
She can sense it.
And I got the towel on, and they're like, my dad's like, well, where's Stephanie? I was like, oh, she's sleeping. She's resting. What do you need? And my dad's like, well, we're ordering from this like designer burger place. And my sister is, unfortunately, she's roped in because she's the one that can see enough to write the orders down.
Okay, yeah.
So she's stuck there because
Right.
she's holding the pen and paper. My dad's like, yeah, so, they've got all kinds of burgers. You can make them all your own way, whatever cheese you want. And I was like, okay, I love that. Dad, what are you getting? I'll just take whatever you're having. It's super
Sure.
easy.
Let's just
give me
end
what you're
this.
having. And he's like, Tim, that would be a mistake. You don't understand. This place has and he's just talking to me. He will not give up.
Oh, he wants you to love the place.
Cheddar cheese, American cheese, Swiss cheese, and I'm just like beet red, sweaty, with nothing but a towel on. And I'm like, okay, well, I can see that he's not going to tell me what he's getting, which would be the easiest solution to this. I'm like, listen, whatever you're getting, just make two of them,
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's just do, and then I rattled off just a couple of ingredients, because it didn't matter how it tasted, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a burger, you know? But that was a truly humble moment of just like, you think that you're in a moment of just like ecstasy and joy, and then you're right there in front of your family.
Yeah.
With nothing but a towel on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty spot on from typical embarrassment meets family /
Yeah, they crank it up,
dynamic.
you know what I'm saying?
Cranking it up.
Crank it up.
That's pretty good. Way to take it up a notch. Is it ever as bad as it seems when you completely fall on your face?
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's those moments. There are those moments, though, that I didn't think was bad, and then in hindsight, I'm like, man, I totally misread the room once you have the eyes to see a room, But I'd say typically. What about you, man? You got a good story? Come on.
Man, well, on the same vein as I agree with you completely. It is never as bad as it seems. I think most people who witness an embarrassing moment become embarrassed by their reaction to witnessing an embarrassing moment, right?
Okay,
Like
yeah.
It's
contagious. The embarrassment is contagious.
It is. And we all think that we're kind of the main character in our own movie because we are in our world,
The Tim Show.
But not in anybody else's world. You're just on the peripherals, and there's like some egocentric stuff that happens when you completely embarrass yourself. But no, it's definitely not as bad as it seems. Have you ever tried to intentionally embarrass yourself?
Well, hang on. It sounds like you've had an experience of a very public slice of humble pie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I've had them. Here's one that I think proves that it is not as bad as it ever seems.
Yeah.
You've heard of the Goodwill date, right? You go to Goodwill, you pick out outfits for the other person.
No, I haven't heard of this. This is a thing.
This is a thing. And I don't know anybody else who's done it, but I've heard about it. We did it. We called it a rags to riches date. This was Katie's idea. She planned the whole thing. It was phenomenal. One of the best dates we ever had. And the day before the date, we went to Goodwill and we picked out the most ridiculous outfits we could for the other person. I ended up in rainbow leggings and a biker jacket and leather on top, rainbow leggings on the bottom. I'm sure I was wearing some crazy shoes. I probably had something on my head. I don't even remember. She was in something wild. It was a lot of cheetah print and zebras and a lot of animals that don't always hang out together.
Those animal prints are hanging out at the Goodwill.
You can find them at the Goodwill, and I found quite a few ones I didn't even recognize. We called this a rags to riches date. We showed up at in our outfits, and we were in our rags. We were walking down 26th Street to the bus stop. And we were carrying an armful of things in our house that we found that we could sell. And we took the bus down from 26th and Market all the way down to 1st and Market. And we look ridiculous.
Which First and Market is downtown Louisville.
That's right. We're in downtown
We do
Louisville.
have avid listeners that are maybe not in Louisville.
I forgot that we're international. So
I think somebody in Russia
First
did
and
listen to us.
Market is
Probably a bot.
in the United States of America. We should remind everybody. And we look crazy for 26th Street.
Yeah.
Okay. And we get down to First and Market, which you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Central Business District. There's people walking around. There's people who look nice. They're going to meetings, whatever. You know what I mean?
What time of day is it?
This is this is an evening, I suppose.
7?
I mean, yeah, earlier,
6?
yeah.
Okay.
And we look ridiculous. We're carrying into the pawn shop, and we've got everything that we think we found in our house that we can sell. Because what we're doing here is we're selling items, and we're going to buy dinner with whatever proceeds we make here.
Wow, okay,
So we've got
yeah.
everything we can.
Yeah.
We walk in there, and we forget. We're in a pawn shop. This guy's seen it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't bat an eye at. If anything, he thought, okay, these guys started using drugs this afternoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sure, they've got some nice stuff. I'll buy it. We sell it to them for like $60. And in our backpacks, we've got our change of clothes, and we gotta go find a place to change. We're in a parking garage, and we change, and we change in some really nice clothes. We take our $60. We go down to Muscle and Burger Bar. We have a nice meal.
Man, you
We
have a
call
great
an Uber
time.
home.
Yeah.
So we went from rags to riches in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
In that whole experience, we could not make somebody look at us. We could not let nobody turned an eye. We're on the bus, we look ridiculous, we're playing card games,
Yeah.
we're drinking out of our, you know what I mean? We got a little flask on the bus, whatever we got to do.
Yeah.
And not a single
paid
person.
attention.
Not a single person. Now, we had a good old time.
Yeah.
We were laughing like we never had before. It was a great date. But we could not embarrass ourselves no matter how hard we tried. I don't think it's ever as bad. It's like a crying baby on an airplane. It is always way louder to you than it is to anybody else around you. Maybe there's one jerk, but for the most part, you can fall on your face. And a lot of people will just appreciate the fact that somebody else fell on their face. Because people who get embarrassed are kind people. They're generous people. They're people who don't just take, and I don't really care what people think of me, whatever. I mean, I'm just in my own lane. I'm just taking everything I can from people. They trust you more.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just happy and fun when you see somebody who's embarrassed, but they're worried about it. My natural reaction is to go, man, that presentation wasn't that bad. You know, it takes a lot of guts to get up there. We didn't have much time on that turnaround on that deadline.
Yeah.
You know. As long as people are trying. And so, no, I don't think it's ever as bad as it thinks. That's one of many. You know, I've had some humble pie that didn't taste so good, that made me reevaluate. When you fail really bad, what is your natural inclination? To double down, to walk away? When it's happened to you, where do you think you've taken it?
I think usually walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, the dumpster fire is raging.
Yep.
What about you?
I think it can go either way. I mean, obviously I've shared this. I don't think failure in general is anything to be embarrassed about. I don't think failure in general is a failing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you fail at a business, you go on to the next one. You learn from it, right? The phrase fail fast, fail often, like I think it applies.
Yeah.
I think when you mess up is when you are afraid to walk away, right?
Yeah.
If you're failing fast, fail often, think like in tech, like that's something people say a lot. Fail fast, fail often, learn from your mistakes, go on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
If 100 people are telling you got a bad idea
Yeah.
and you're the only one holding on to it, that's probably your mistake,
Yeah.
right? So I'd say we're probably told a lot through stories, through TED Talks, I don't know, commencement speeches, like don't give up, follow your dreams. You only hear about that after they make it, right?
Yeah.
That's why Tim and Joe's Awesome Podcast is giving you the nitty gritty before we made it. Am I right?
That's it.
Before we made it big
Yeah.
time. So I think it actually, it's that sunk cost that keeps you in. You know what I mean? If you are failing to the point, you fail hard enough and spectacularly enough, let that motivate you to cut those ties. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I got too much money and I got too much time in it. I got too much passion in it.
Yeah.
you can redirect that passion. The only way you'll mess up is really if you're sticking through something that was never going to make it in the first place.
Yeah.
And the lost opportunities that came with that for the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
That's good. I think most people's inclination is don't give up. You know what I mean? Because it's the motivational thing we hear.
Yeah. Well,
it's okay to quit sometimes.
You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. No, there's nothing wrong with messing up. You've heard the phrase, it's better to be bad than boring?
No, I haven't. Yeah, that's a good one.
Specifically, I think in the in the theater world.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's better to be bad than boring. You just try.
Yeah.
Make it a spectacular failure.
Yeah.
And then gracefully move on to the next thing. Right?
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of like if you know what's important, you know what's in your fortress, right?
Yep.
So maybe that's your loved ones. Maybe that's your community.
Yep.
You know, if you know what's in the fortress, you know the stakes are low no matter what happens.
Yeah.
You know, because I mess up at work. I mean, worst case scenario, they fire me, which is sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked really hard to train myself and get to this place, which would be a big loss.
Yeah.
And it would eventually possibly hurt those in my fortress. But that's not in my fortress. Sure. We aren't what we do. And I think that was a huge lesson for me, is realizing that, like, I'm not what I do. So when what I do burns and sinks in the harbor, I don't feel like I'm sinking in the harbor.
Sure.
I feel like, oh, that's something outside of myself.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, by the time I walked away, and this was first semester of college, first year of college, really, before you've declared a major, but you've told, guidance counselor, here's what I'm interested in, and they put you in a lot of classes, and I'm pretty sure this is what I'm going to do. And for me I want to be a graphic designer. And I was taking a lot of graphic design class. I remember the conversation with the guidance counselor. It was like, hey, what I'm worried about is I'm not very artistic in a traditional sense, as far as drawing, as far as painting, things like that. But I feel like I've got an eye for good design. I can create it on a computer, you know what I mean, with Photoshop, InDesign, things like that. So they put me in a lot of, this would be a good graphic design course. And so I was taking things like color theory, which I struggled in, but I got through it. And I was taking some basic graphic design classes, and one that I ended up in was drawing, this was one of my biggest fears. It's like, I do not want to draw, but you have to be in that course. And I'm a few weeks in. I know I'm working harder than anybody else to draw things that are rather basic. I'm drawing a ball, I'm doing the shading, I'm learning techniques, using charcoal. And there was one assignment where over the weekend everybody had to go draw something that inspired them. I drew a boat, a sailboat.
Hey, that sounds inspirational.
I thought it was. Everybody hangs up their drawings on Monday. They're on the wall. Everybody's looking at everybody's drawings. I know I worked harder than anybody else at this just to make it look tolerable. Teacher takes a look at it. And he says, who drew the sailboat? Just kind of
picked you out, huh?
Raised my hand.
Okay.
He picked the drawing out, and he picked me out in the process. And he said, where'd you see a boat this weekend? Like, oh yeah. Yeah, I saw a boat.
Oh, no.
I saw a boat. He's like, a sailboat? I'm in Missouri right now, by the way.
Oh, my gosh.
You saw a sailboat. In a sense, I saw a sailboat. He's like, where exactly did you see a sailboat? It's like, well, I was looking at pictures of sailboats, and I drew pictures of sailboats. And he said, I know. And he goes on a long monologue and romanticizes the art of drawing, and that for generations we've been drawing portraits as the most realistic thing that we've got, and that people who can draw are the only artists who can bring to life what we can see, and that they're the only ones who can replicate it. And somehow, in this generation, we have gone to believe that a camera can replicate that, and now we are trying to copy a camera.
Wow.
That's what you've done.
What a jerk.
Woo!
What a jerk.
He had some, it wasn't all bad, but it was not a great drawing. It was the best I could do, drawing a picture of something else and not technically understanding drawing. But it was also when I realized I may not be cut out for this because I don't know how to be inspired by something and draw it. I really don't. I mean, I drew something that I thought was a nice, pretty picture, and I liked it because it made me feel good. It made me think of sailing and being on the open waters and adventure, and that's what made me think of. I can't really get inspired by drawing, a flower. Or You know what I mean? It's just what came to mind for me. It's what I was able to do. I stopped taking the graphic design classes when I moved here to Louisville, and it was the right move for me. I'm actually really grateful that I made that decision. He really helped. It was a very public display of humiliation for me. But ultimately, my goodness, I've thanked myself more time even recently. Like, my friends who've completed graphic design, like, if they didn't know how to draw, if they didn't know, like, traditional artistic, mediums, they're struggling because artificial intelligence Canva has replaced a lot of traditional, like, graphic design things. Yeah. Logo design there's a million apps for logo design that can do one in seconds, right? People aren't paying graphic designers for that. So, people who maybe were artistically gifted has hopefully landed on their feet. It's hard. But, it was the right message for me in the moment. And I am glad I was able to cut ties at that and walk away. Yeah. Slice of humble pie is exactly what I needed in that moment. I did not measure up to other people in the class, and it showed.
Yeah. Well, I love that, like, you first of all, like, you don't have to wonder.
Yeah.
Because you gave it your all.
That's
you know
right.
What I'm saying? Like, I feel like I think the real worry is that when you're feeling uncomfortable, you would stop trying.
Right.
Because you were obviously in classes that you felt uncomfortable with, but you, like, went hard, man. You know what I'm saying?
And
like, he didn't say, draw something you see in the physical. He just said, draw something that inspires you. And you went hard for it, and then now on this side of things, like, gosh, just the piece in your voice of, like, man, I went hard, I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't, like, shy away. I just went all in, drew my sailboat, and then I can really realistically say, like, man, that is just not it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's liberating, and we're both people who say yes. You said yes. You never operated that camera. But you're a yes man. I'm going to get there. I'm going to figure it out.
Say yes.
For better or worse, we think we can grit our ways through it sometimes.
Poor adrenals, all these yeses.
Grit over quit,
Yeah, there it is.
That's what we do.
Come on.
Well, we try it. A failure-free life is impossible. Fail joyfully, maybe not always gracefully.
Yeah.
Move on to the next thing.
I had an experience when I was in high school. I played trombone. I still play it every once in a while. But I had gotten into, you work so hard, you get on all these competitions. I gotten into the state band.
Woo!
In Texas, that's a big deal.
Come on. And in the best state, that's world championship right there.
So basically, you go to state, and then you re-audition, and they give you chairs, right? Chairs would be like, last chair would be last place. And you have like 8 chairs, 6 chairs, 8 chairs, that's the lower band. Yeah. And then you have 6 or 8 chairs all the way up to the first chair. First chair is the best.
Yeah.
So even a first chair of the second band is pretty awesome because you're playing some cool stuff. First chair of the top band, par excellence, you are the best in all of Texas.
Is that you?
So I went there. I was super excited. You know what I'm saying? I busted my butt, did these auditions, get it. They're like, I made it. We don't even know what chair you're going to be. Come and audition again at state. So I went down to state, and I had failed to prepare super well, but I had prepared a little bit, and I had gotten the music. I was a mess. Listen, when I say that I was a mess in high school, I was an organizational mess to where, like, and it was pre-internet-ish, so it's not like you could download the music. You had to get the copies of the music from the people, and I was out of time for that because I missed that boat. So I got them from a friend, I copied his on an old Xerox copier. I had the music, show it up. I played I played all the parts I had, and you never know what they're going to pick, which ones they're going to pick. They don't tell you which they're going to pick. Anyways, they picked one that I didn't even have a copy for. You know what I'm saying? Like, evidently my buddy who had given me the copies of the music, he's a high schooler too. So he just gives me the music. I think that's them. I'm like, that's them. Xerox, and I was missing a whole piece of music. So you go through the room and everybody has to play the same excerpt or whatever. And these are hard. These are hard excerpts. This is not sight reading. You're not going to sight read this. And so it got to be my turn. And so you get to play a few notes before you play to warm up. Just you've been sitting there so long. So I just started playing, I need thee, oh, I need thee.
Come on, Tim.
Every hour I need thee. Because I was like, I'm about to fail. And they were like, oh, you can't, stop playing melodies. I was like, all right, that's fine. So then I go for it, and I just go for it. You know what I'm saying? Fail miserably. In front of, like, all the great trombone players in Texas. They're looking at me like, what? It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But, you know, that's one of, like, 6 pieces you play. And I think I did okay on the other 6. I did pretty good on the other 6. I
Come
did
on,
really
give it to
good
yourself.
on the other 6. And I was first chair in my little town, Louisville, Texas. I was first chair.
Shout out.
So I'm like used to, like, listen, I know that was hard, but you know what I'm saying? So anyways, then the next day we come in, they're like, all right, well, we've talked, we've placed everybody in their chairs. So first we're going to call out Nolan Mills. And I just start clapping for Nolan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
God.
He's the first one we're calling out.
Are you sliding down in your chair a little bit as they're doing this?
Well, I thought he was first chair, you know?
Okay.
I thought, like, oh, we're going to call out first, and then we just work our way down.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, this is my first time there. It's not first chair. They're calling out Nolan Mills first, but he is last chair. And I'm up, I stood up and I'm clapping for Nolan.
My gosh. Oh, you look like such a jerk.
Everybody's looking at me like I'm just rubbing it, and Nolan's just like, oh, man. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do.
Give that man a drink of unsweetened shame tea right now.
I thought we were all staters here. And where I come from, that's something worth being proud of. And I'm telling you, the whole room.
Who's with me?
The whole room was like, Nolan! You know,
yeah, you did it.
Shouting
You
for Nolan.
did it.
Nolan's like, what's up? Guess who was second to last chair? This guy. So I get second to last
It's a good
chair.
thing you set a precedent that everybody's happy for
Everybody's
everyone.
clapping for me. I'm like, that's what's up. We clap for everybody all the way to the top. Now, fast forward a couple years later, I went back home. I was seeing my old trombone teacher, and she's like, did you hear what happened at the trombone Allstate? I was like, I am so out of the loop. I don't even know, but I'd love to hear about it, Jan. She was like, oh, well, first of all, they've made a new rule that you can't play melodies to warm up.
And the second rule.
And I was like, oh, man, I love that. She was like, that's your rule. And she thought that was very funny. But she said, now, all the trombone room clap for every single person.
Come on.
Because there's enough of holdovers of people who were there last year, they're there this year.
Yeah.
And they carried over the tradition where you clap for last year, you clap for second to last year, you clap all, because honestly, you should be clapping because it is so much work to get there.
That's right.
There's nothing to be ashamed of there. But that was an example of, man, split second thinking of, I am about to eat this slice of humble pie. But that was not a time I walked away. That was a time I doubled down.
Yeah. And you made the right call.
You made the right call.
You did make the right call. That's good. Wow. Well, anything else? You got anything else to share to wrap up our conversation on a slice of humble pie? Do you know anybody right now who really needs a slice of humble pie?
Man.
One or two?
You know, at this age, not that it's old, but like when you're a kid, I feel like, man, you're always like, man, they're like on top. Everybody likes old Jason Wilcox. I hated Jason Wilcox.
Yeah, I already hate
Jason
him.
Wilcox was dating this girl, Mandy, and I wanted to date Mandy so bad. Mandy with an I. Beautiful blonde, middle school girl. And Jason Wilcox, little guy. But his claim to fame was that he could do a backflip off the picnic benches because you'd eat outside.
Anyone can do that.
Well,
Anyone
I don't
can do
know.
that.
But Jason Wilcox, if you're out there, you're definitely not listening. But I hated him. Because
He sounds,
you know,
I mean, I'm on your side
you
here.
know, you're just like, just when you thought like, man, I got Jason Wilcox out of my life.
And that's Mandy with an eye material? Jason Wilcox, really?
I know. He's doing backflips off of the picnic bench.
That's easy.
And everybody's like, oh,
That's probably on grass.
Jason!
That's probably over grass. That's not impressive.
Yeah, it was grassy.
Yeah, there it is.
Sweet Mandy was a soccer player. she was like the quintessential if Patty Mayonnaise from Doug. Remember Doug, the old cartoon?
I haven't had the pleasure.
Doug,
Oh yeah,
Doug,
yeah.
Doug, and
That's right.
Yeah. So he was in love with Patty Mayonnaise, I think was her name. And Mandy was like, if Patty Mayonnaise was a real girl.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, tan skin. Anyways, I hate Jason Wilcox for that. However, I wanted Jason Wilcox to eat that humble pie. I wanted him to just fail.
Oh yeah.
On that backflip.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever just kind of
But then, yeah.
take out an ACL right there,
Yeah,
right when he's right and going on back.
Yeah, let's end his career before he even got started. And I think age, and I don't know if it's maturity or not, but age or whatever, I definitely have this idea of like, man, we are all in this thing together, even the jerks, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or even the, here's a funny story too, is like, even like, to be a jerk is a little bit lonely, right?
True.
But to see somebody and have the eyes to see who they are behind that facade
Yeah, it's hard.
is super hard. But if you've got the guts to train yourself to look, there's nothing like talking to the person that's behind the facade, like the Jason Wilcox that's behind the flips as a human being.
Right.
That just like makes that whole thing, disappear.
Yep.
There's been several times, even today. Now, this guy's not a jerk. I don't want to say he's a jerk. He's not a jerk. I just don't know him. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I don't know this human being.
Okay.
He's one of our meteorologists, and as far as I know, he's a wonderful human being. He's not a Jason Wilcox backflip. It's a hard.
There's only one of those.
We're doing here.
There's only one of those.
It's a hard segue. However, he and I have never spoken one word to each other.
Okay.
He's kind of new. We're in different departments, and that can be a little awkward. Now, very smiley, very nice. I just want to reiterate that this is a wonderful human being that I know zero about. You know,
the record's been set.
So we're filming his spin around his spinning grins where they're like, "Hey, I do weather." You know what I'm saying?
It's hard not to come across like a Jason Wilcox when you're doing that. I'm sorry. But he's not.
But he's not
because we set the record.
It's his job.
Okay, it's hard for me. It's hard to segue from Jason Wilcox, who I hate too, to this. But it just we can.
You know.
All right.
But
go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, so he has helped. So we're setting the camera up, and this is kind of a no-no. It's kind of a no-no when you're the meteorologist to tell the camera person how to do their job.
I'm curious. Do you ever tell him about the weather? I'm just curious if that's ever happened. Have you ever even felt the urge to correct him about the dew point?
Exactly. Yeah, I've never ever. And so we're getting this camera set up, and it's on a slider, which is like a long thing, and it's on two tripods.
Yeah.
So we have a level, torpedo level, which basically you get in pretty close, then you pull out the level, you set it on it, and then you get it exactly right?
Okay.
So we'd done the rough in. All right. And then I'm about to walk away and get the level. He's like, oh, that side needs to come up. That side over there needs to come up. Now, the what is it, the hackles or whatever, you know, when your hair raises a little bit, you're like, because I don't tell you how to do weather. But nice man. But I'm just like, let's play the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do it, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, what you think, like, he's a little high, perfect right there, right? Thank you so much. So then I go get my torpedo level. I put it on. You know what? It's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
He nailed it.
Level. He nailed it. And so I tell him, like, oh my gosh, you must have been like I did construction for a while. We would call that the carpenter eye.
Yeah.
Like if you could just like, the old timers would look at it and be like, that's not plumb.
Right.
Or they look at it and be like, that's not level. And you're like, sure enough. Or they'd be like, a little bit, and then you get your level out and be perfect. We call it the carpenter eye.
Yep.
And then we even made a joke about it. We get our zigzag eye. We'd be like, well, now that's my carpenter eye. Now. That's my carpenter eye. Anyway, so this guy nails it, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, were you a carpenter or something like that?
Yeah.
And he says, no, my dad was a carpenter. And at that moment, love the guy. Like I'm seeing like, here is this meteorologist, science guy who's telling me how to do my job. But he comes from a dad that was a carpenter? How do you tell your dad, I'm not going to be a carpenter. I'm gonna be a meteorologist.
Oh man, yeah.
That's a hard conversation.
That's right.
Because it is a bit like show business, and there's only like probably 5% of the people that start meteorology school that actually become meteorologists.
Wow.
Because if you think like there's only so many stations.
Sure. Yeah.
And they don't die.
Right.
And they don't retire.
No.
And I'm thankful for all those things, but I just mean it's super hard to get. So I can see how a carpenter would. Anyways, so in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh. And then we had a great laugh. I was like, oh, well, you got the carpenter eye, you know, which is what I used to call it, is like when you can just see it perfectly, you know. Right. So that was a great example of like, I think younger me would, maybe you get intimidated, maybe you get threatened, maybe you think like, man, this guy telling me how to do my job. But older, it's like, man, tell me how to do my job.
Sure.
Please.
Sure.
Maybe make it easier.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a good laugh. Maybe we'll have something to talk about in the podcast.
And here we are. Thank you for that material, Mr. Meteorologist. It's you are great at that. You really are. You never take things too seriously. You let it roll off your back. Well done. He didn't have to eat humble pie today. But find somebody. Feed them humble pie. Be kind while you do it, but someone needs it. Eat shit, Jason Wilcox. What else? What else do we have? Are we done here? We got anything else?
I just want to back that up. Jason, I'm sure you're doing very well out there.
Come on.
I just wish the best for you, and I hope you've grown a couple inches.
I won't say it. There it is.
Bingo, bongo, boingo.
There it is. All right. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, Tim and Joe's awesome podcast. We're out of here.